All right, so everybody should have their bearings with the practice marketing cheat sheet. You can ignore the back, it's from an old seminar that I did. I want to lay a groundwork for you guys to think about your marketing plan for your practice and kind of give you a quick synopsis of the different aspects of marketing that not necessarily that you should be doing, all of it, but all the opportunities that you can be doing, and kind of making sense of the opportunities in the whole worldwide world of marketing, and then start prioritizing for your own practice. Obviously, I've got about maybe 20-30 minutes, so we can't go into that much detail. We want to give Sandy some time and Doug some time. They're going to drill down in a lot of these specific aspects. We call it the cheat sheet because it's literally as exhaustive as possible. So it can be a little overwhelming to understand what's on this checklist for you guys to kind of really ruminate over and meditate over and develop an actual action plan for yourselves. I'm not a big believer of a marketing plan, like a business plan that is only for banks and only for loans and kind of sits on a shelf, but rather a marketing action plan that literally drives down into not only what you're doing for the year, for the quarter, for the season, for the month, but really drives down into what you're literally doing this week. And your marketing plan should be reflected in your calendar. And it should be blocked out in your calendar ultimately. So if it's not literally scheduled out into your calendar, then you don't really have a marketing action plan. You have hope, and you have a wish and a want, because you're not being proactive. And most of the practices, I can imagine, if I can get a show of hands, how many of you grow predominantly through word-of-mouth referrals? All right, so it's just about 90% of the room, and there are a couple of folks that don't necessarily grow or they're not paying attention, that they grow from word-of-mouth referrals. So there are two aspects of word-of-mouth referrals, and then we'll jump into the cheat sheet. Here's what I call passive or reactive word-of-mouth referrals, where because you do such a great job for your clients, because of the type of networking that you do, you've been around a while and been around enough where you've developed that reputation where passively the phone rings. Passively the emails come to you, the introductions come to you. Then there's a flip side of what are you doing to encourage those referrals, encouraging the right referrals. So that's what I refer to as proactive marketing. A lot of it's reflected here on the cheat sheet that we're going to get into in a moment. So keep that in mind, that right now you're growing by X because of passive word of mouth. What can we now do to encourage that word of mouth? Because if you think about it, if they don't remember you, they can't recommend you. And if you're out of sight, you're out of mind. So what can we do to remind remind your colleagues, remind clients, remind those potential clients that never became clients, but may not be ready for you yet, may not be ready for you at all, but could be potential clients for someone else in this room. So it's an opportunity. So how do you use this cheat sheet? Well, there are two aspects to it. There's the top and the bottom, and then left and the right. So first thing I want to do is kind of fold it in half to kind of keep it simple. So you could fold it in half if you're available to do so. If it's staple, it might be tough. And this kind of keeps it pretty simple. Now that it's folded in half, the top part is traditional marketing. The bottom half is all internet-based marketing. So if you're not interested in the internet and think it's a fad, then you can kind of ignore the bottom. If you're like me and kind of figure, well, you better like it or not, you better join it because everybody else is there, well, one way or another, you're going to be able to use the internet. However, most of my clients don't generally grow randomly through advertising, through Google AdWords and things of that nature. We're going to keep it pretty simple and relationship-based and show how can you grow your practice using the internet in a more simplified, traditional word-of-mouth way. So on the top, first you have the left-hand side, what I call your marketing collaterals. A little bit of jargon, you can call it marketing materials. So what are the 6-7 types of marketing materials that you ought to look at for your practice? So what do you have, first of all, that's web exclusive? Meaning, how is your website right now, just from a sheer brochure on the internet? Need not be an old fancy website. Right now, is your website, does it have your contact information, which essentially is like your email signature? And does it have some type of a form so that you can collect information from people who want to contact you or want to be contacted by you? Right now, if anyone does not have a website, it's relatively simple nowadays. You can practically build one for free. You can go to wordpress.com and right now build a website at no cost. Takes 2 seconds to do, and there's no silly ads or anything of that nature. WordPress.com, you get a free site. So hopefully everybody's got, it's 2013, everybody's got a website for their practice right now. It's kind of like your business card for 2013. Then you want to look at the audio-visual world. everything that you're doing can be captured audioly or visually. And what do I mean by that? How's your photo, your headshot, your logo? What are you doing from an audio video standpoint? You can do that online. You can do that traditionally through CDs and through DVDs. It's an opportunity. Do you have to? No. But can you? Yes. Text printed, everyone, yeah?
I just want to add something
go
on
for
the
it, please.
photo, because everyone told me that I didn't look like my picture, that it was outdated, so I got a new headshot done about 3 weeks ago. I got more hits because I changed my headshot than in any of the boring IRS stuff I put out there. It's amazing.
People like seeing people. You know, you're ultimately in a people business as much as you're surrounded by numbers. Really what drives people to you and endears you to your practice, or endears clients to your practice, is who you are. And your personality and the way you click with people. And your photo of yourself should speak to that. The way you want to represent yourself, the way you want to be in front of clients, the way clients want you to be, depending on your specific market. Are you dealing with a market that wants you in a traditional suit? Or are you dealing with a market that prefers you not in a traditional suit? So you really want to match that in terms of thinking about who you're looking to target and who you want as your clientele. So it goes into your headshot. Your headshot can be in a variety of places. It's funny, one of the disagreements I have with my partner is whether or not to have a photo on your business card. I prefer not to have a photo on my business card because most of my clients prefer not to have a photo on their business card. But more and more attorneys and more accountants are understanding that it's still a relationship game, and can you distinguish yourself even that way? So some people prefer, some people don't, and that's a personal preference. You can now look at other types of opportunities and collaterals. I won't literally read out every aspect, but events are experiential collateral, meaning it's an opportunity for you to bring people together. I think Doug mentioned that he just, might be stealing some thunder, that he had a client appreciation seminar last night that maybe he'll talk about later. And that's an event that he created and he brought people to. And I'm sure in one way or another, not only does that increase client loyalty for him, but I'm sure it also will develop potential referrals for his practice. Tremendous. And I'm sure he'll talk more about that. Then you deal with the tchotchkes, the reminders, the stuff that you can give away, stuff that people can remember you by. It's marketing material. Same thing with signage. The left-hand side of the cheat sheet is all stuff that you have to create, preferably for a marketing channel, meaning there's a way now to attract prospects using that stuff. So I tend to focus really not on this left side, but on this right side. Because it's the right side that really brings in the potential leads, or the leads of potential business, etc. So if you think about your word of mouth need not be this passive aspect. It's how are you using the databases? How are you using trade associations of not only here as a peer association of NCCPAP, but really how are you participating in the professional and trade associations of your clients? Every one of your clients belongs by obligation to some association or organization specifically for their business. And their world, those trade associations, how many CPAs are actively targeting that population and being someone of importance and leadership of the field directed in those trade associations? Most likely, if you walk into that room, you may be the only accountant in that trade association room. Local Long Island chapters. Need not be a giant Jacob Javits expo. Local chapters. And for you to be the only accountant directly interfacing and focusing your accounting practice to a specific sector or industry or profession is tremendous. You're immediately branding your practice in that room, developing relationships. You already have a client in that room that can hand introduce you to his peers or her peers, who, very similar in this room, they're somewhat competitive, but not necessarily. And that's a tremendous opportunity for you to develop a proactive word of mouth. Likewise, we don't want to ignore the advertising world, so you can kind of take a look at how to use advertising in a creative way. Long Island is great because there's so many different calendars on Long Island that, if you want information, you can email me. There are so many event calendars that if you're creating a tax seminar or being invited to present at a tax seminar or a related accounting type seminar, there's so many different calendars that it can be produced in, and essentially they are advertising the seminar. It's not advertising your practice necessarily. You're probably going to keep it educational, but the more people get to know you, the more that they're going to trust in you, ask you questions, and obviously business develops from that. I think Doug's going to talk a little bit about telemarketing and about using the telephone, so I'll skip over that.
And Bruce also is going to talk about that.
Yeah? All right, cool. Then you have the world of email, electronic, internet-based marketing, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. regular mail, which I don't do much of in terms of direct mail, but as you know, it is a channel. Again, it's not everything that you should do, but you can do. So you want to now take a look at, for your own budget, your own team, what are you going to do in each of these marketing channels? What collaterals are you going to develop in this? Then comes the final one, shows and search. The reason I say shows and search, there's a difference between creating your own seminar and being invited to present a seminar. So when you create your own seminar, it's a marketing collateral. The effort and the onus is on you to bring the people to fill the seats in. When you are cultivating relationships with trade show producers, event organizers, association organizers, and you're invited to speak at those places, it may only be for 10 minutes, maybe for an hour, but the responsibility of filling the seats is no longer yours, and now that collateral turns into a marketing channel. It's a little bit of a nuance and semantics to understand what's a collateral versus a channel, but anytime that, I call it armchair marketing, anytime you're sitting there designing, writing, having to perfect something, it's all going to be marketing collateral. And unfortunately, it doesn't lead to as much business as getting out there and shaking hands and looking at people in the eyes and actually developing those relationships. So when you're invited to do seminars, it's an opportunity for you to share your message, share your expertise, be a resource for others, and obviously generate business that way. Then you look at the bottom. On the bottom, the same thing on the left-hand side. I won't take up too much time with the 6 types of web pages that there are. These can be literally types of websites that you have. Yes, you can have multiple websites. You may be struggling to keep up with one, but you can have multiple. Or these can be pages of your website. Think of it as you can have a mansion with multiple houses on your estate, or it could be rooms in a small house. Either way, there are different aspects, and each room has its own doorway, and you can kind of take a look at that. And most of them are going to be a little bit obvious. If you want examples, I can send you examples of accountants who are using each one of these different aspects. More importantly than the types of websites are how are you bringing people to your website? How are you getting their information? Because if they're coming to your website and you're not capturing their information, their contact info, you may know that someone hit your website, but you don't know who hit your website. And quite frankly, if you don't know who it is, you're not able to develop a relationship, and it kind of falls flat. So ultimately, my favorite aspect is kind of looking at the world of forms. And how are we looking at people signing up for things on your website? So they're going to be in a variety of ways here. And basically, if you look at subscription contacting, that they're signing up for things. In addition to this, I'm going to hand out what I call the universe. There you go, thanks. What's coming around now is a simplified version, and it's funny I say it's simple, then people say it's really overwhelming. The world of internet-based marketing can be boiled down to basically 3 aspects. One aspect is straight out on advertising. Before the internet, you still had advertising through the yellow pages, the premium ads, you had billboards, you had TV, radio. Internet didn't really change that at all. The advantage with internet-based advertising is that it can be extremely demographically focused. Meaning, if it's Google-based advertising like Google AdWords, it's search-based. So if they're searching for an accountant in Mineola, then your ad can appear. Now honestly, that's going to get more and more expensive by definition and by default by their business model. The reason Google is a $100 billion company and their shares are above $1,000 a share is because people are literally auctioning off these keywords. So if accounting in Mineola may be $5 a click, could be $10 a click, I don't know honestly, but I can tell you right now, that's the least expensive it will be at all. It will only go higher because someone's willing to pay more. So if you want to be in that game of essentially being in an auction of, hey, I'm willing to pay $11, he's willing to pay $12, he's willing to pay $15, and basically have an auction format, well, you can play that game. It takes a budget, like any other type of advertising. The benefit is that it can be extremely geographically focused. So if someone looking for an accountant in Mineola, there may be a Mineola in Nebraska. You don't want that person, you want Mineola on Nassau County. Well, that person will find that. The advantage of Facebook-based advertising or LinkedIn-based advertising, straight ads, only show up to people demographically based. Meaning, if you're literally looking for only CEOs of toy manufacturing companies, CEOs of toy manufacturing companies in this 20-mile radius will see your ad. Only them. if they disclose that they're CEO of a toy manufacturing company. So it becomes advantageous because of advertising. However, I think even more important than the advertising aspect of the internet, and even more important than the search-based advertising, which is the SEO world, is looking at the relationships that you're able to develop. I have a saying that if every one of your clients can lead you to one more client, you've essentially doubled your clientele. Now, there may be a little bit of naive math and naive marketing right there, but it can nonetheless work in an exponential geometric way, where if you think of your top 10 clients, can they lead you to clients like them? And how can your marketing strategy work so that you're encouraging that top 10 or top 10% to lead you to the next 10% like them? And essentially double your A clients, double the best type of clients that you have. How can you encourage that to happen? Well, essentially, when you're using the internet, the concept of liking things, sharing things, forwarding things, all mean the same thing. It's an opportunity that you're giving your colleagues, your clients, your networking colleagues to share you with someone else. Well, what do I mean by that? If you look at the e-universe, as I call it, the e-universe, ultimately it boils down to kind of what Doug mentioned before. I'm a huge believer that right now, let that one go. Casualty. Thank you. Thank you, Ed. So I'm a big believer that right now on your intake form, if it happens by phone or by face, are you capturing email addresses from every person that's walking through your door, literally and figuratively? Because those email addresses are the key to anything internet-based, be it social media like LinkedIn, Facebook, all that high-tech stuff, or very simple low-tech stuff. Are they getting something from you by email at least once a month, maybe once a quarter? Because if you're not communicating with them, someone else is. Another CPA firm is. And sooner or later, they're not going to be happy with the service that they're getting from their current accountant.
How many touches a year should you have with your client?
With your current clients?
With your current clients. I mean, obviously, there are clients you're going to see every month.
Correct.
But I'm talking about the clients that you don't see every month, the tax clients.
The tax clients that you see, that you could, commercial, you may see quarterly, you may see annually.
Right.
I say at the very least, monthly, they should get something from you. Monthly, somehow, by regular mail or by regular email, at the very least. Can they get something from you where they see your face, see your expertise on a weekly basis? It's relatively simple nowadays to do that.
But then everybody opts out. If you do something so often, people get annoyed.
If you send masses weekly, you're going to annoy the crap out of people. These are your clients, specialized information specifically for your clients. That's what it kind of does. So, yeah. So now, for us, for what I would even say for the masses of people, every one of you know hundreds of people that are not yet your clients, may never be your clients. Those hundreds of people, can you have them part of your email list that you're sending them a short article that you type up, 2-3 paragraphs, easily read within 3 minutes? You type up a whole bunch of them all at once over a weekend, when you have a little bit of downtime, you type up 6-7 of those articles, you have 6-7 months worth of marketing material right there that you're able to now send. You know what's going on seasonally. You know every month there's some type of deadline. Something's going on every month. So you could very easily type out 2-3 paragraphs. And I literally mean 300-400 words. Yes, Andy? Where it need not be literally you of your firm. If you have staff, junior associates, people who are just starting at your firm, it's a great opportunity for them to showcase their expertise through you. It's still under your name, under your firm. Whether or not you share credit or give credit is up to you. But it gives you an opportunity to really see their capability, because just because they're great with numbers, are they great interfacing with clients? Can they actually write well? These are still other assets that they bring to the table potentially, and you could really vet that out and have them start writing articles. If you're writing articles and you're sending out really 1 or 2 short articles once a month, even just once a quarter, something is better than nothing. Because if you're not doing that, you're out of sight and out of mind. It's a lost opportunity. Because they not only are the hundreds of people can come out of the woodwork and utilize your services, but think about all the people that they know, friends and family, colleagues, that they can be sharing that newsletter with.
Vic, I think everybody in the room has had this experience where you run into somebody that you know for a long time and they say, I just got a new accountant. I don't know why I didn't think of it.
Exactly. Oh man, he should have contacted me last month. Oh, I just changed account. Oh, it was just... My brother-in-law was just thinking about looking at a new accountant. And I think he just chose someone new.
That happened to me with my mother.
Yeah, fair enough. Josie, why would you?
I'll take your mother, you take mine.
Fair enough. And that happens, and that goes to the out of sight, out of mind. That you're not in the right place at the right time, and it's so difficult because everyone's so distracted, everyone's so busy, everyone's email inbox is cluttered. So you're not the only one drowning in email. You're not the only one deleting all the newsletters. In fact, if you send a newsletter out to 100 people, 80 to 90 of them are going to delete that newsletter. It's depressing to say only 10%, 20%. A huge open rate of email newsletters is 25 to 30%, which means by definition, 70 to 80% of them got deleted. And who knows if those 20% that opened the email, did they pay attention? So we call another metric of click-through rate. Who clicked into that email newsletter, which is why you don't send out the whole article through your email. You send out an excerpt with a click here to read more. The full article is on your website. An article on your website is what we call your blog. Jargon, it's very simple. It's just a newsletter on your website.
Now, Karen does great blogs. I look forward to your blogs. They don't come every day. They come every quarter or whatever, but they're very informative. There's a lot of information there.
Thank you. We actually ask each attorney to write one a week.
Okay.
There you go.
They're not always up to date, but they try. They're not always on schedule, but the second something new comes out, they try and do something about that. That's
Simple.
relevant.
It's simple.
I think that's very, what you're saying is very important, and the word is relevancy, because I even see the firm I share office space with, that they send out, they still mail out generic, and I'm guessing if two out of the 300 they're sending out get read, that would be a lot.
It's, something is better than nothing. Buying generic pre-written content sounds like an easy way out, and it may be a cheap way out. Unfortunately, it's like, can you get what you pay for? The amount of effort that it really honestly takes to type up 2-3 paragraphs, you probably can do that within a half an hour to an hour and then have someone else edit it and get it polished. It brings out your personality, especially your expertise for a specific niche market if you're looking for. It's so much more valuable than just buying canned content that honestly everyone is sending out, or X number of thousands of CPA firms around the country is sending out. It's not doing anything much to distinguish or differentiate you. It's not really doing much to bring out your expertise and personality, and it's reflected and people can see that. And thus, it doesn't need to be this glossy mailer that is like 4 pages that no one has time to read. It could be 3 paragraphs that you're emailing out once a month, once a quarter, preferably that the whole thing is on your website, and now you're starting to develop interactivity with your website. If you're sending out an email newsletter and you have a blog on your website, it's just that easy right now to copy and paste it and now become active in the world of LinkedIn. Now, the world of LinkedIn is like your Rolodex, your Outlook on steroids. So it's not the 200 people that are right now in your Outlook that's really important. It's the 200 times the 200 each of them know. And that exponential factor you're able to really unlock on LinkedIn and LinkedIn groups. LinkedIn groups is very similar to this room if everyone here brought a 3-paragraph article. If everyone brought a 3-paragraph article and started discussing each other's expertise in niche markets, well, that's tremendous potential business. Now, here it's a room full of peers. Suppose this were, again, a trade association of dentists, a trade association of toy manufacturers, all these different markets that you're potentially working with. Well, now you're the only accountant coming in with an article, or maybe you're one of 3 accountants bringing in articles. So you're now really competing in a market of one of 3. So think about how can you utilize email marketing, blogging, and the internet in a word-of-mouth way. Not necessarily advertising, not necessarily search, but the people that you know, can you give them fodder? Can you give them a catalyst, an excuse to share your expertise with someone else? It's very, very simple to do. It doesn't take a whole lot of time to do. And get away from all the geeky hits and clicks aspect of it. It's actually relatively simple. It's it's a lot. It's kind of like tying shoes and driving a car. Explaining it is a lot harder than actually just doing it. And once you start doing it, the habit's there. It takes literally 20-30 minutes a week. It's not a whole lot of time. It's developing that habit, which is what I mean by having your marketing action plan part of your calendar. A couple other things on the bottom. People ask me all the time, so what do you do on LinkedIn? Like, what is that LinkedIn thing about? Well, there are only a couple of things that you're doing on LinkedIn. And those of us in the room that are active on LinkedIn know that this is basically what you do. It's not that difficult. LinkedIn is an opportunity in 3 ways. One, you're sharing your knowledge, which can be links back to your blog website, links to articles that you've read on the internet, sharing what you're doing, where you're speaking, to your first degree contacts. First degree contacts, very similar. We've all heard the expression 6 degrees of separation. So the first degree are the people you know. Second degree is who knows who. So your whole goal is to expand your first degree from 50 people to 100 people to 300 people. And, that itself is enough. And where are they? Who are they? Those are people right now in your Outlook, right now in your Gmail. And it's very simple to export that and upload it into LinkedIn. It's a technical thing. It's relatively simple. I'm not going to show you now, but it's really very easy to do so. Once you have that first degree, how can that first degree introduce you to those they know, the second degree? Now, you don't need to know all those folks. If there are 200 times 200, what is that, 4,000? You can build a very substantial practice and firm with 4,000 contacts. It's absolutely ridiculous, especially as they become first degree and add to your potential second degree. It's absolutely mind-boggling. That's the first way. Your first degree communication on LinkedIn, which you could do by email, which you could do in a room like this. Then the potential becomes the LinkedIn groups, as I spoke about. Every trade association, every profession has some type of a presence in LinkedIn groups. They're like mini forums, like this room, of people sharing articles, sharing ideas, asking questions, sharing information back and forth. How much time does it take? How much time do you want to dedicate to it? You have 10 minutes a week to dedicate to all this stuff? That's 10 more minutes than you did last week. You got 20 more minutes? Great. You get a client from it? Maybe now you'll dedicate a half an hour each week. You get another client? Maybe you now start to think of this as a marketing strategy. Keep it simple, but do it. Then you have the aspect of looking at LinkedIn from a target marketing perspective. Who do you know who are influencers of organizations especially who can invite you to speak, and how can you be introduced to them through LinkedIn? There's a concept that you can Google this, you can find YouTube, you can call me, called advanced people search on LinkedIn, where if there are specific people that you want to know or be introduced to, you can find them and see how do you know them. And honestly, you may not be connected to everyone right away or by a second degree, but if out of the 10 people you want to meet, 5 of them are second degree, meaning it's a who knows who, you know people that know that person. So basically email them, hey, can you introduce me to so-and-so? I'd like to know, and because I have clients in that industry, I'm looking to do more in that industry. Makes sense. You have the credibility already. You're a CPA. You work with clients in that industry. Now you're able to leverage that credibility and experience through a LinkedIn advanced people search. With that, I'll conclude. There's a variety of aspects here in terms of liking what people are doing, recommending people, introducing people. We talked about groups, and number 7 I just touched upon. Before I conclude, any questions before, and then Sandy and Doug come up. Yep. Yeah, Rob.
Vic, how significant do you think endorsements are?
Yeah. I think endorsements are extremely insignificant, and I think it's one of the best things that LinkedIn did for LinkedIn is endorsements. Unfortunately, how many people here have gotten endorsed for something? If you don't know, you don't know what that is. Okay. How many of us have gotten endorsed for things that we actually don't do? It's absolutely mind-boggling and ridiculous. People ask me all the time.
I asked this question because I won't mention names, but a mutual friend of yours and mine, who is out there as much or more than anybody I know, I got asked to endorse him for something, and I'm thinking to myself, well, I consider him a friend. I think I know him pretty well, but I don't think I can endorse him for palimony.
First of all, I get offended by words like endorse, because I think that they're very potent and now are being lessened by LinkedIn, because I think to endorse someone at one point really meant a lot, and now I think they cheapened it, number 1. Number 2, I'll say, just regardless of how you feel about endorsements, there are ways that you can remove specific topics or skills, as they call it, that you've been endorsed for. You can remove that so that you're not confusing the world that you're not an expert in plumbing as an accountant. You may be an expert in plumbing, but you may want to remove that if someone's endorsed you for some oddball thing. So you can remove that. You can remove specific people. So for example, you don't really want to be endorsed by certain people, you can remove them as well. And then you could totally hide endorsements as well, which is kind of like removing it from your profile. It's very simple to do so. It takes a minute to do this, just knowing where to click. And you could basically opt out of this whole junk of endorsements. I'm not a fan of it. On the flip side, there's a concept of recommendations, another very highly potent world. The world of recommendations are testimonials, actually written testimonials by clients and colleagues that, you know what, it's the same thing, you get what you pay for. It actually took someone a couple of minutes to write a testimonial for your practice. That's tremendous. You still get to edit it because people share things that they ought not share, so you can still edit it and see it before it goes live on, not you can't edit it, but you can ask them to edit it, before it goes live on your profile in case there are grammar errors or they're revealing things that they shouldn't, if they're attributing their 300% growth to you, that's kind of awkward. So you can have them edit it, sanitize it, and then publish it on your profile. Recommendations are tremendous. You only need a handful. You don't need to be a recommendations collector. Did you have a question, ma'am?
Yeah, I have a question. Every once in a while I'll get, someone wants to connect with you on LinkedIn, and I have no idea who they are, where they came from. Do you recommend to...
I say quality is better than quantity. You're not looking just to collect relationships. If you don't know who that person is, I wouldn't say it. Some people go very suspicious that are they looking to poach my clients? Are they looking to rip me off? You don't have to be too afraid of poaching because there's mechanisms that prevent spamming of your contacts on LinkedIn. It's just that, well, if you don't really know who that person is, what is the value going to be? Not only to you, it's not only just taking, but can you provide value to that person? How are you connected? So the easiest way is to click on his or her name and see, do you have mutual colleagues? And if there are mutual colleagues, maybe he's being introduced to you and he didn't know how else to really get a hold of you, so he just connected with you. So, you want to see if there are mutual colleagues, then you can send him or her a message even before connecting. There's no real harm in connecting. However, if you really don't know that person and you didn't just do a seminar or something public where maybe your name got out there and now you get, every one of us have experienced, you do a seminar and then you get a lot of invitations. So check them out. But just to connect with people,
But let me just say this, I agree. I always I look at their profile to see if there's a connection or what they do and if there's any relevancy. But at the same time, I like to teach kids about money, let's say, or maybe I'm interested in food,
Right.
or something that's not connected to me
Yes.
being a tax attorney. And maybe I'm trying to connect with someone who's in the toy world. And
Correct.
they have no idea why I'm connected. And so I look at it the other way.
Yes.
Maybe someone's trying to connect with me because they have an interest or
Correct.
something.
Yeah. You don't want to be completely dismissive or off-putting because they're trying to develop a relationship and they want to check you out. And so yeah, it's to that point. If you can send a message back and do that. It's pretty simple. Any other final questions? I appreciate the time. Obviously, I'll be around hanging out, so I appreciate it. I'm going to hand it over to Doug and then Sandy. Thank you. Thank you.
So the marketing group that we had, it was about 6 or 7 years ago with Vic, was very helpful. My practice has grown a lot since that time, and I need to reconnect with Vic, and I think all of us should, because he has some great ideas. But what I want to talk about today is my practice.